What is up, future CPAs? To all you second and third year accountancy students tuning in, welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're hitting the Management Advisory Services, or MAS, section of your prep, you already know it is a completely different beast. It doesn't just test your memory, it tests your analytical reflexes. So today, we're going to set the stakes for mastering one of the most notoriously tricky, short-term decision-making topics on the Philippine CPA board exam. Let's get into it. So I gotta ask you right out of the gate, are you gonna fall for the ultimate LCPA trap? In almost every single exam cycle, the examiners set a very specific, totally mathematical trap when it comes to short-term decision-making. They love throwing massive numbers at you, just to see if you'll take the bait and factor them into your equations when you absolutely positively shouldn't. Here's your cognitive roadmap for today. 1. The hacker mindset. 2. Defining split-off. 3. The incremental golden rule. 4. Beware the sunk cost. 5. The Nico Co simulation. And 6. A rapid-fire LCPA bullet review. All right, Section 1, the hacker mindset. We are officially ditching rote memorization today. Memorizing a formula might save you on next week's quiz, but it will totally fail you on the actual boards. Instead, we are building permanent analytical frameworks. Our goal here is 3-year cognitive retention. I know you guys are consuming a ton of fast-paced information constantly, so this explainer is designed specifically for how your brain works right now. Clean, distraction-free analysis. We are filtering out all the noise to focus exclusively on high-yield exam data. No fluff, just the exact logic you need to hack the test. Moving on to Section 2, defining the split-off point. Before we even touch a calculator, we need the foundational vocabulary to instantly decode these joint manufacturing environments in your word problems. First up, joint products. This is simply when multiple distinct products are produced simultaneously from a single raw material input. Think of the Santa Maria Wool Cooperative from our source material. They buy raw wool from sheep herders. That single raw wool input goes through a process and boom, it simultaneously yields coarse wool, fine wool, and superfine wool. And that leads us perfectly to the split-off point. This is the exact production stage where those joint products, the coarse, the fine, and the superfine wool, finally become separately identifiable. The absolute most crucial thing to remember is that this exact moment in the production timeline is the central pivot point for your exam questions. Everything you analyze hinges right here. Okay, Section 3, the incremental golden rule. We're going to hardwire this core analytical rule straight into your brain so it becomes completely second nature. Whenever you hit one of these problems, your decision pathway splits right here. Do we sell the product immediately at its split-off price, or do we spend more money to process it further and try to snag that higher final market price? To answer that, you're going to follow a very rigid 3-step process from the Garrison accounting text. Step 1, ignore joint costs completely. Just pretend they don't exist. Step 2, find the incremental revenue. That's just your final sales value minus the split-off sales value. Step 3, deduct the further processing costs from that incremental revenue. The absolute golden rule you have to follow. A product should only ever be processed further if the incremental revenue strictly exceeds the further processing costs. Which brings us to Section 4, beware the sunk cost. Now, what's really wild about this next concept is that it's the exact trap I warned you about earlier. This is where dreams of passing the LECPA literally get shattered if you aren't paying attention. Read this quote and burn it into your memory right now. Joint costs incurred up to the split-off point are sunk and irrelevant. I want you to plant this memory hook deep in your brain. Sunk is junk. I'll say it again. Sunk is junk. Regardless of how these massive joint costs are allocated for inventory valuation, they must be completely ignored in your short-term decision-making. Why, though? Well, because sunk costs are essentially ghost costs. They are historical, past costs that cannot be avoided regardless of what decision you make today. Whether you sell at split-off or decide to process further, that joint cost has already been spent. Because you can never recover past costs, factoring them into a future processing decision will guarantee, literally guarantee, a wrong answer on the board exam. Let's see this in action. Section 5, sell or process further, the Nico Company simulation. Let's translate that textbook math into a clean data hack using a classic board-style simulation. Welcome to the Nico Company. Here is your raw data. Nico Company produces products G, I, and N. Now, the problem states that they have a joint processing cost of 100,000 pesos. Whoa, stop right there. What did we literally just learn? Sunk is junk. Instantly cross that 100,000 out in your mind. It is a phantom number specifically designed to trick you. Let's only look at the relevant future data, the split-off values, the processing costs, and the final sales values. So let's break down product G step by step. If we process G further, our final sales value is 250,000, but we have to subtract the 100,000 we could have made just selling it immediately at split off. That gives us an incremental revenue of 150,000. Then we subtract the 70,000 it costs to process it further. That leaves us with a positive incremental profit of 80,000. Because that extra revenue is way greater than the extra cost, the clear, undeniably correct decision here is to process product G further. Now, look what happens when we run that exact same logic on products I and N. It brilliantly illustrates the trap. Product I only gives us 20,000 in incremental revenue, but man, it costs 40,000 to process. That is a straight up 20,000 loss. Product N gives us 50,000 in incremental revenue, but costs 60,000 to process, causing a 10,000 loss. This shows you exactly how chasing a higher final sales value on paper can actually result in incremental financial losses if your extra costs are too high. So for I and N, your decision is to firmly sell it split off. Don't touch them. Time to wrap this up. Section 6, LECPA Bullet Review. We're going to trigger a rapid-fire consolidation sequence right now to beat your brain's forgetting curve and lock in that 3-year retention. Take a mental screenshot of this. This is your ultimate study guide, summarizing the exact algorithmic rules you need. Rule 1. Always ignore joint costs prior to split off. Remember, sunk equals junk. Rule 2. Calculate incremental revenue by subtracting the split price from the final price. Rule 3. Process further only if that incremental revenue is greater than the processing cost. And Rule 4. Sell immediately at split off if the incremental profit is negative. Do not overthink it. I want to leave you with this final active recall prompt. Think fast. If a product's final sales value increases by 50,000 pesos, but it costs 60,000 to achieve that, what is your ultimate LECPA move? Take a second. That's right. Your analytical instinct should instantly tell you to take the loss avoidance route and just sell it split off. Trusting this incremental math will absolutely help you crush this specific topic. But remember, sell or process further is just one type of short-term decision. If examiners can so easily disguise sunk costs here, where else in the MAS syllabus do you think they're hiding phantom numbers designed to break your concentration? Keep your guard up. Thanks for analyzing with me today, and keep hacking that prep.